Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm the national buck dancing champion, and buck dancing is very similar to clogging. It comes from the same tradition, the Appalachian tradition. Now, buck dancing is a lot older, and clogging has actually evolved from buck dancing. There's a few key differences. You know, if you've seen a clogging team, they'll do matching frilly steps. They do a bunch of fancy footwork, flailing their legs around, kicking their feet up in the air, jumping up really high, and they put on a great show. And technically, even though their dance steps are in time with the music, the dancing does not contribute to the music. That's not the point. The whole point of clogging is to flail your legs around doing a bunch of fancy footwork, and when you're flailing your legs around, impressing the audience, it may or may not sound good. As buck dancing is all about playing the music with your feet. And when you're, thank you. And when you're focused on making a good beat with your feet, you don't do a bunch of fancy footwork trying to impress the audience. And for that reason, buck dancing can be very boring to watch. And so that's why, as an entertainer, I like to throw in a few clogging steps so we can have some fun. But mostly as a musician, I got to go back to boring old buck dancing in order to lay a good rhythmic foundation for this fiddle music. So I want y'all to watch close and listen. And if you see something that looks cool, that's clogging. But it might not sound as good as it is the buck dancing. If you see something if you hear something that sounds good, that's buck dancing, and it probably won't look as cool as the clogging. But I'm either going to look cool or sound cool, just not both at the same time.
One we were doing fairly recently, we played with a Mayan dance troupe, a group of Mayan traditional dancers from Mexico. And it was, we didn't speak the same language, obviously, but so many of the dance steps were the same. You know, it's indigenous dancing from Mexico and indigenous dancing from the Appalachian Mountains. It was pretty cool. You could see both them and us like pointing at each other saying, oh, we know that one. That one's called this, and that's called this. It was cool. All right. Appalachian clogging, historically, people think that it's a combination of traditional Irish dancing that comes over with Irish immigrants. And then as those immigrants moved west and settled in the Appalachian Mountains, of course, you had the Cherokee Nation. All the Cherokee tribes were living throughout the Appalachians. So the thought is that then you've got indigenous dancing from predominantly from the Cherokee people, blended in with this Irish dancing. And then as we began to steal and kidnap people from Africa to build our economy here in the United States, those people were coming from the northwestern coast of Africa. So you've got a mixture of Irish dancing, indigenous dancing, and then African dancing. And I think that's what the roots of this dancing is. It's a lot of fun, and we get to play in a lot of like international festivals. And what are we doing? So we're going to do an Irish tune called "The Girl I Left Behind." so much. Again, that's Kim Roe dancing for you there. Got Matthew Beauregard Loftuson III, first of his name, on the upright bass of the band. Brody Kuchera here on the drums. It's a very good-looking band. And over here, the best-looking of all, Dave Gustafson on the mandolin.
But bug dancing is not a deal where you get your feet way up in the air to start with. You know, and flat foot is fairly close to the floor. Playing the tune with a toe and a heel that the musicians are playing for you to dance to, and you're trying to match. You're trying to play music with them. Not about doing steps. It's about playing music. Your feet should be doing them notes along with it. I call my steps notes, and I'm trying to match that music that's being played and be a part of it. Stress on that all the time. You know, what is bug dancing? And bug dancing is playing that tune along with the musicians and being a part. I'm just like a musician. I mean, just like someone playing a banjo or guitar. I'm part of that band. I'm part of that tune. That tune is inside of me. So I try to bring it out. The flat foot style, because it's not flat foot, not just flat foot. I'm doing a toe and a heel. And I'm doing it on both feet. I dance on both feet at the same time, which is important. You can play that tune a little bit better if you hit a toe and a heel. And that's flat foot, what I call them flat foot. Bug dancing is the same way. I just don't get my feet so high that I can't get them back in time. But I don't want to miss no note. But I don't dance really wild to start with. I try to have a good move. I try to have my body. My body is part of my dance.
Say, I've heard you talk about this for years. That they'll have the band playing for the dancer be like, some distance off, but sound is an element of time. If it takes a little while for that sound to get to you, then you wind up being behind the beat or ahead of the beat or something. And so when everybody is where they can hear each other, it's a whole lot easier to play because you can anticipate what each other's going to do. And
yes, it's very important for you to be right there. And most people don't realize this, if the music is way off somewhere or another, by the time you hear it and by the time you react to it, you're hundredths of a second behind the beat. You need to be right here where the band is and playing that tune with them with your feet. To me, that's important. See, most dancers or instructors don't know that. They'll have a band way off over somewhere else. You can hear them, but it's not like being right here, being part of that band. And now I'm going to show you some flat foot, and then my apprentice is here and going to show you some clogging. Are you ready? Give me something, Danny.